This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The following program is rated MALSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Well, hello, and welcome to this all-new edition of the Rated R Safety Show on today, Wednesday, December the 11th, 2019, day 345 of the year, and only, 20 days left before we get to the 2020, and oh my lord, am I excited about that. I don't know why I'm excited. It's a number change. But hey, it's going to take place, and it's pretty exciting that number change is happening. Not that I should be excited, because it's not like it's my bank account number that's changing. And I mean in a positive way, of course. Anyways, hopefully you've been off to a great start, especially with us being already in the middle of the week. Yes, I know it has been definitely a full week since we last spoke. When we had our last conversation, I was heading off to good old Canada. And I have to tell you, it was a grand old time in Canada. Little cold. Enjoyed the time out there. Got to interact with some very, very great people out there. Of course, the Canada Safety Council, great place out there too, just in case. Anywho, let me not bore you too long, and let's get you started with, of course, that portion that you like about the show, and that's the news.
The countdown has begun. Find out only on Safety FM. Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's take it from the top. There's a lot of things going on in this lovely, lovely world of ours, but I have to tell you, there has been the first report of Uber's first ever safety report reveals that there's been 3,045 sexual assaults and 9 murders in 2018. Oh yeah, you heard me correctly there. So Uber has been under fire for riders and driver safety for years. And while reports of assaults, robberies, and worse are regularly spotted all over the local news, it was hard to know the extent of the problem until now. Uber released its first safety report yesterday, looking at 2 years of data, and while the practice of using ride-hauling apps is mostly safe, there are some alarming figures to be aware of. Uber admitted 3,045 reported sexual assaults in 2018 and 2,936 in 2017. This is according to the New York Times reports. The ride-hailing service also recorded 5,500 other incidents of groping or unwanted sexual touching in those 2 years. The attacks represent 0.0002% of the 1.3 billion rides that the app has facilitated over the last few years. The report also showed that 10 murders in 2017 and 9 murders in 2018, which had even split between drivers and passenger deaths. In fact, drivers were actually the victims in 45% of the total incidents. Uber also recorded 58 crash and fatalities in 2018 and 49 in 2017. Uber says that 99.9% of riders were safely ferried to their destination, which is true. And many sexual assault awareness advocates applauding Uber's transparency. There are also some caveats with the report. Of course, it only categories 5 categories of violence, and while Uber is a huge international company, this data only focuses on the U.S. The report itself is a result of several high-profile cases of attack and lawsuits against the company for not doing more to protect. So what the freak do you think there? Are you going to continue using Uber and Lyft? Now, listen, I'm not disparaging any company here. I'm just saying, here's the stats. This is the information that they handed out. And I think it's good information for you as a rider to know, and maybe even as a potential driver to know what the hell's going on. Of course, I get to interact with a lot of people in the industry of transportation. And of course, there's always some concerns there about Uber and Lyft. But hey, that's a concern because it is a market disruptor. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with the disruption. But I want to take a look at the actual safety side of what's going on, because you have to keep those things in mind too, because they're very important on when you're, jumping into a car, because you have to keep in mind that you're jumping into a car with a stranger. Nothing wrong there. But you have to look at it from that particular standpoint of how does that actually work? Is that a good or a bad thing? Anyways, let's continue down with what I like to call the hit list. The Federal Reserve has added another $70 billion liquidity to the financial markets on Tuesday, the latest string of big-time infusion of cash, and part of the cash infusions are attempt to appease the markets in the wake of the slight interest rate increase and the increase of short-term lending. So, of course, that has an effect on all of us, but also I always like to talk about it from a safety professional standpoint, because you have to invest your money in some good stuff out there. So you have to take a look at what's going on. Elections in Britain have come down to the wire on Tuesday night as Prime Minister Boris Johnson held out hopes of securing a Conservative majority to push through the deal on the Brexit. The stalled British exit from the European Union, Johnson Centre's Right Conservative Party was leading in the polls before the election, but polls of the election day tightened as razor-thin margins and results stretched into the night. I guess more as we get more information on there, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we try to talk about people around the world. So let's continue. Oil giant ExxonMobil won a big court case on Tuesday when the federal judge ruled against the New York State's claims that the company hid the cost of climate change mandates from investors. The lawsuit had claimed that the company failed to adequately inform investors about the cost of climate change regulations on future businesses, but the judge says that the state didn't produce enough evidence. Whoa, la, 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 la. What do you think there? How do you think about that one? I think you need to take a look into all these things. And climate change is a big factor into what we talk about. And I know some people go, hey, that's a political rant there. But, you have to take a look because, there are some things happening into the environment. Let's continue. Despite the viral insult, okay, boomer, meant to put older generation in its place, younger generations are sadder and lonelier than the previous ones. A new study by the American Psychological Association finds that although loneliness amongst the older generation is higher than before, it's highest among the younger generation, which has a real consequence for health or for someone's well-being or cognition, however you want to look at it, said one researcher's social media's backfires. So as you take a look at this, do you find yourself lonely? Do you think because of this whole social media world that we kind of live in now, do you take a look at it and go, oh, Nikes, buddy, and go, I'm really lonely. My life is not as good as some of the others? I don't know. It's just a question. It did come up. It was a news story. So let's continue. Uber woke Nike has a new line of swimwear that includes Swim Jihad. Oh, yes. The new collection intends to bring performance innovation to the modest swimwear, at least the fundamentalist countries where women are allowed to do such things. A company spokeswoman said it's an opportunity for the company to serve female athletes in a new dimension. So what do you think? Do you agree with Nike doing this? Or do you think they should stick to one format? I think, the more the merrier, but that's my opinion. Let's continue. A Canadian man won a lawsuit against a bank who he says denied him promotion for being a heterosexual. The man says that he was told no hope of joining a bank leadership which was composed of gay and bisexual men. Only dudes in those categories got promotion, he was told. And the Socialist Canadian Commission on Human Rights that had previously dismissed the complaint was told that by the court to revisit the determination. Yay. That's an interesting one. What do you think? What do you think there? Do you see that in the marketplace? Do you see that where you're at? I don't know. Let's continue. The U.S. is set to hold the largest military exercise in Europe in 25 years, which experts say are the largest since the Cold War. America will send 20,000 troops next April to highlight the commitment to NATO. A spokesperson for the alliance announced on Tuesday. The exercise was announced after last week's NATO's conference and will be centered in Germany. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Interesting, right? Let's continue. Activity at New Zealand's volcano had recently blew its top, increased over the last 24 hours. Officials says that the eruptions are likely over the next 24 hours, meaning that they've come to an end. They're going to go out there and start looking for bodies of those who were killed in Monday's blast on the White Island. 6 deaths were immediately confirmed, and another 8 are believed to have died with their bodies remaining as ashes covered the island. Sad news to hear. Hopefully something comes out of that. So like I always tell people, I don't like to talk about politics, but this is the portion that we need to talk about it here for the next moment, because as you are aware, this is going on all over the place. So Democrats have rolled out 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump on Tuesday morning. The articles accuse Trump of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress for his interactions with the Ukraine president, allegedly to help his 2020 presidential bid. Dems claim that the 2020 election is hanging in the balance, declaring that the president betrayed the nation. Trump will remain a threat to the nation's security and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, the 9-page impeachment document claims. So anyways, what do you think there? I know that those have actually been going around and there's been circulating all over the place. So unless you've been under a rock, you didn't know that actually occurred yesterday. But I think it's interesting on where it's going to lead. Now, I'm not going to go much further into it because you should have your own political point of view opposed to me telling you what mine is, because I'm sure you really don't give a shit. So anyways, let's continue. Lottery. We need to talk about it. No winner on Saturday night's Powerball drawing. Tonight's drawing will be for $140 million jackpot or $95.4 million cash payout. Take a gamble, people, if you're into that kind of thing. You never know if you might be the next winner. Winner, chicken dinner, of course. So let's talk about the days of the year that you can celebrate. Let's take it from the top. National Food Drive for Needy Animals Day. International Mountain Day. National App Day. National Have a Bagel Day. And National Noodle Ring Day. National Noodle Ring Day. Noodles. Why would you celebrate them? I hate them so much. Anyways, you have been listening to the Rated R Safety Show. I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Duh.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
The countdown has begun. Find out only on Safety FM.